Our next speaker is on Present Fathers, Safer Children, How Responsible Fatherhood Protects Against Child Maltreatment. I'd like to introduce, I'll turn the page, Dr. David Cozart. Isn't it? Is that right? Okay. Okay. And he's the Chief Visionary Officer of the Commonwealth Center for Fathers and Families. For nearly 3 decades, David has been a father, family advocate, a community organizer, a minister, and an influential leader. So with that, let's welcome Dr. David Cozart. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, and I'll jump in too.
Oh, well,
No worries.
I
will. No worries. No worries. Thank you. Thank you, Steve. All right. Well, good morning. I guess we got a little bit of the morning left. Well, let me start by this. How many? So we're the Commonwealth Center for Fathers and Families. How many in the room have been in a space where we've presented or been to one of our conferences? Of certainly one of our key partners, Chris here has. How many have heard of us, Commonwealth Center for Fathers and Families? Okay, so a few others. All right, well, good. I just kind of want to get. Okay, so again, I am not David Cozart, but we're gonna co-present today. So I'm starting off. My name is Aaron Ames, Director of Operations here. And so today, what we want to do is where we making connection on prevention will be the role that fathers play in the lives of children and well-being and outcomes, especially related to child maltreatment. If you think about ACEs and different things related to that, you'll see some of this come through on our statistics. And so we'll present a lot of that today. Before we do that, I always have to do a little dad joke. Since it is the holiday season, the Christmas season, thought I'd give us one of these. So we'll see how this goes. You guys will be my first test on this one. All right, so what is a Christmas tree's favorite candy? Ornaments. Oh, all right. We'll try one more. Just one more. What does Santa Claus suffer from when he gets stuck in a chimney? Claustrophobia. Have at it. All right. Thank you for the pity claps. Okay. All right. Well, we like to ease up with that. So, but we get these in the office all the time from David. So, actually, in all seriousness, though, as we're speaking, we are going to talk about some sensitive content related to fatherhood, and each one of us has a different experience with that. And so, we just want to say, if there's something that makes you uncomfortable, something that just strikes a nerve, please take some space. If you need to step out, whatever. We just always want to say that even as we do this, as we present statistics bear out generally, but there are always unique situations as well. And so anyway, we want to put that out there up front just to let you know. We're going to talk a little bit about father engagement. It's a difficult endeavor, and it takes consistent effort and persistent effort. And so we understand that. So if any one of you are working in that space where we're doing father engagement, we do understand this is a challenge, but we're here to encourage you to do that. So why fathers? Why are we talking about fathers? Well, we hope by the end of this presentation that this quote will make sense in a way more than you even might know right now for some of you, though some of you do know. That the imprint of a father remains forever on the life of a child. And we'll see that for better or for worse, that this seems to bear out true. So let's start with this, and we'll even let you guys talk. So this is a real scenario, actually occurred, common as well. So after bumping into a friend, Roderick learned that his children had been placed in foster care almost 6 months earlier due to claims of child abuse from their mother's new boyfriend. No one had reached out to Roderick. Now, there might be a few things in this situation, so I'll hear from you. What's wrong? What do you see in this scenario? What troubles you? If you were to hear this scenario, what would trouble you? Yeah. Yeah. Why does he not know? Okay. Yeah. Father's not there. Disconnected father. Yes.
But at the same time, assuming that he is still living with the father and hasn't lost further away, why wasn't he notified that his children have been placed in foster care?
Okay, so we don't know whether he's lost his parental rights, but he's still the father. So why is there no communication with the father? Why does he learn about this 6 months after, right? I use this scenario because I wanted to bring up both. And the truth is that, just to give you the background on Roderick's scenario, he had been in and out of substance use and recovery treatment, had been in and out of the kids' lives. But nonetheless, here he is in a place and time where he's trying to get stable housing and trying to get in a space where he can get back in his children's lives, and he learns only to know that here his kids are now in foster care. Okay, that's a scenario. Well, what this brings up for us, and we understand this brings up the reality that there are two issues going on here. Roderick has faced some issues in life that probably, let's be honest, statistically speaking, his father was probably not present in his own life, to be honest. But he's facing some what we call self-induced issues. We don't mean to say that it's not induced by his environment, only to say that if he's had some issues with substance use, right, those are some issues that are going to keep him away from the kids. But there's also a systemic issue going on here as well, that the system is not set up to contact Roderick's parents, to see if the father's family might have some way of taking these kids in, right? Now, in Kentucky, we're getting a lot better at this, obviously, but we bring this up because we know it's still an issue. And so that's what we want to talk about today. We want to be a part of changing some of this narrative, shifting that narrative in many ways. And so this is the issue today, is that, as our recent statistics will show, that 1 in 4 children are living without a father figure of any kind, that they just don't have one in their life at all, right? You can kind of see some of these statistics bear out in different communities, all right? And so Roderick's situation is not, unfortunately, that uncommon, right? And we know this. And writing in the 1990s, after a few decades of research, David Popenoe said this. He said, "The collapse of children's well-being has reached breathtaking proportions. One can think of many explanations for these unhappy developments: the growth of commercialism, consumerism, the influence of television, mass media, the availability of guns and drugs." But he says this, "But the evidence is now strong that the absence of fathers from the lives of children is actually one of the most important causes." Right? And this is what we want to talk about today, okay? So in order to do this, we want to, part of what we're trying to do is shift a little bit of the narrative. We don't want anything taken away from the mother. We are absolutely supporting mother-centric elements as well. What we're saying is there's not enough father-inclusive practices and policies, and we need more of that. We need to understand the role that fathers play. Getting dads back in children's lives, keeping them in their lives especially, right? And so we're coming from what we would call sometimes there is a cultural deficit for fatherhood, one in which we look at them sometimes as the mother's role is important, the father's, at least to some extent, that's been part of our history, right? And so I want to show this video because where we want to go is we want to shift it to this. And so just show a brief video of these dads talking about this issue particularly. So let me see if I just play here.
There's a key word with every system that's working with fathers that becomes a barrier into working with fathers, and that word is liability. I feel like many systems, not just child welfare, feel like if we do engage this guy, there's always that what if he does this.
There's clearly some bias education that needs to happen, whereby we need to move from seeing men as the problem and doing risk assessment of men to flip it around to let's do a strengths assessment of men. Because in all these fields, and particularly in healthcare, it's like one of the first things they do is, and I understand there's need for, risk assessment in terms of domestic violence, but that's not okay when you have no if the bias is that men essentially represent potential problems. That is the starting point. So we have to flip this around to say, what are the strengths that this guy brings to the table, and do a real strengths assessment and do the risk assessment. And by the way, if the guy does have a problem, that doesn't mean you can throw him away. You can also deal with that.
There is this kind of misguided notion, that because you're a mother right, that you automatically know how to nurture. And because you're a father, you have to be taught, you know. And so many female DCF workers, female Head Start workers that work with fathers, you know, come to the work with their own preconceived notions. And so part of this work that we do really is to knock down those walls, to bring down that veil, if you will, so that these women can understand what fathers, you know, the positive things that fathers bring to parenting.
Thanks, Aaron. Again, David Cozart, not a doctor yet. That's the second time in the last week I've had a conversation about that, though, with my daughter and a friend. Oh, no apologies needed. I accept the title without the work. But let's talk about going back to the PhD. Thank you, Aaron, for that introduction. Again, Chief Visionary Officer, Commonwealth Center for Fathers and Families. Dr. Sparrow, I'm going to give you your time back. We'll get done by noon and get you back on track.
You take all the time you need because we'll just push the agenda on.
All right. We're gonna try to roll. Aaron immediately credited me with the bad dad jokes. I appreciate that. I would give you a dad joke, but my memory's gotten short. Some of y'all can understand that. Went to the doctor the other day and told him I'm having trouble remembering things. He said, "When did you start having that problem?" I said, "What problem?" Went to the same doctor. I'd had a fall. I broke my arm in 2 places. He said, "You've broken your arm in 2 places." I said, "What do you suggest, doc?" He said, "I suggest you don't go back to those 2 places." Thank you. That's how they're supposed to get a response, all right? Last one. Went to the doctor the other day, and he said, got some good news. And he said, "I got some news for you." He said, "You're colorblind." I'm like, wow, that hit me right out of the purple. She has no problem expressing her disdain with bad dad jokes. Hey, this work of fatherhood, we use levity because, as he said, it's a serious issue. And there are a lot of different sectors in the room, I'm assuming. I see Friskies. Anybody here from the healthcare sector? Anybody here from, I guess there's some social services agencies here. I know our prevention agencies here. We do work with Friskies as well. This is a body of information that is applicable to all things, and you're about to see that in our presentation here. But to continue to try to drive home this point of how important fathers are to all of us, I'm going to do a little exercise here, Aaron, with folks. So look around the room and see what you see that is red. All right, now close your eyes. What did you see that was blue? Now open your eyes. What do you see that's blue? Why didn't you see anything blue the first time? And that wasn't what you were looking for. We see what we're looking for. And we look for those things most often what we're either asked to look for, taught to look for, conditioned to look for, and have experience in looking for. And in most sectors, most of our lives, we look for, reference corrective things or plans or approaches for family and child well-being and community well-being and schools and family care agencies. We have been taught, we have the experience to kind of do that through a maternal lens. Again, nothing wrong with that. Fatherhood is not contradictory to motherhood, but it's complementary. But if we don't look for opportunities to serve comprehensively, which would include the father, then we're missing a great opportunity to enhance life outcomes of children, because you're about to see the very breadth and depth of the social determinants of outcomes for children. So y'all have heard this term upstream. There's a whole analogy that goes with this about men fishing babies floating down the river. I won't use that. If you've been in my spaces, you've heard that over the last 3 decades. But this upstream approach is the idea of going upstream, identifying issues upstream, so you don't have to pull babies out of the water downstream. It's really a root cause analysis or a root cause approach, no different than seatbelts helping prevent deaths and car accidents. It's preventative instead of reactive. And so fatherhood, we feel like, is one of the primary, and you'll see empirically, one of the most preventative approaches that you can take to father or to family and child and community well-being comprehensively. So this is a matrix that we put together of all the many things that father presence impacts, increases the outcomes of, and father absence father presence decreases the negative outcomes, and father absence increases the negative outcomes across all of these areas. And I would challenge you to look at these areas and find something that is not related to the body of work that you're called or charged or paid to do. And we have specific statistics for each one of these categories. And when I was doing our homework coming here, I'm like, okay, kind of what does this group do and how do they function? And I started seeing lots of stuff. I mean, you got everything from traffic safety to ACEs and to schools and sexual assault. And I'm like, man, that's kind of like fatherhood. There are many things that impact safety and well-being, and there are many things that fatherhood impacts as well. So we match up. So what are some of the protective factors that fathers offer? What we know is that addiction is more likely to occur if a father's absent. And so this is addiction, and I won't read the numbers to you because I'm expediting our presentation here, but addiction when fathers are absent is 75% more likely to happen for adolescents. That's no small number. That's a significant number. And then when we also know that we're working in lots of areas of, I think later this afternoon, Voices of Hope are here as well. We're working in lots of recovery spaces, helping them understand that fatherhood and fatherhood curricula and responsible fatherhood, we believe, is going to help increase recovery capital. Because it's our belief that part of addiction or substance use disorder, congratulations on the opioid grant, we're looking at doing some of that too, so we might have to steal some of your secret sauce there. Because we know that fathers in recovery have reported to us in one of our small demonstration projects that when they have more confidence in their fatherhood, and we know that when they rebuild healthy and lasting relationships with family and their children, it helps increase their recovery capital. We believe that they have holes in them shaped like their children, and they're trying to fill it with all the substances in this picture. And if they can get those relationships more robust and healthier, that recovery capital will increase and the relapses will decrease. Fatherhood impacts addiction and substance use disorder. Violent crimes that occur are the perpetration of violent crimes and being a victim of violent crimes are less likely to occur when fathers are present. Again, we know that our households, oftentimes mothers are taking on both roles, parental roles. But we also know that when fathers are in homes, that the likelihood of that home being victimized is decreased. And so you see here just a couple of things that 279% more likely to deal drugs or carry firearms for offensive purposes if a father's not there. That's a protective factor in its truest sense. 60% of all repeat rapists come from father-absent homes. The decrease in father's presence in neighborhoods are associated with increases in crime. And there are additional statistics tied to that.
1% decrease is a 3% increase in teen violence.
1% decrease of father absence is a 3% increase in teen violence in neighborhoods. Interesting. Interesting. Boys need same-sex role models to define themselves as males. When fathers are absent, young males are more likely to exaggerate their purported masculinity. What does that mean? A lot of big words. When there's not someone there to be an example of what that right male and man should be, they make it up. And our kids today are way too overinformed and underdeveloped for us to release them to conjure the roles that they're supposed to play. And that's what that statement it accentuates. Incarceration. When fathers are absent, folk are more likely to go to jail. 75%, and if you come from a father absent home, you're more likely to commit a crime, which we saw earlier, which means you're going to be more likely to be incarcerated yourself. And so 75% of long-term correctional facility inmates are from father absent homes. Look at this youth figure. 70% of youth in state institutions from father absent homes. Again, not indictments against mamas and other caretakers. It's just that we know that when fathers are there to help redirect, that we have better chances of healthy life outcomes. 12% of Kentucky children have parents incarcerated. Where do you think Kentucky lies in incarceration of children, of parents? I'm sorry. It's in the top 10. It's in the top 5. It really oscillates between 1 and 3 in the nation and 1 in 10 in the world in parental incarceration. Kentucky. Is it 80% of men that are incarcerated are fathers? And or 80% of people incarcerated are men, and I think it's 75% of those men incarcerated are fathers. Research is absolutely clear. The one human being most capable of curing the antisocial aggression of a boy is a biological father. So we do these statistics and statements just so you know, just to help folks hear and know this thing that little boys need their dads. But please do not stop there. Little girls need their fathers as well. You'll see here that later on that one of the primary protectors against human trafficking or sexual abuse in a young girl is a father absent home, or is a father being present in the home. That's the protective factor. Father absence increases it. We also have data that says when fathers are present, talking about little girls need their fathers as well. When fathers are absent, the age of menarche or menstruation is drastically reduced, which means that little girl, look, I worked in a maternity home. My wife says, man, you're way too candid about this stuff, but I can't stop myself. So 5 years I worked in a maternity home with young teen mothers. So do y'all remember like when you would like make fun of and I would hear girls in high school, I graduated in '89, aging myself. And we'd be in high school and girls would be like picking on each other. You hadn't started. This is high school. Frisky coordinator, do y'all have sanitary napkin disposal containers in your elementary schools yet? Or middle school? Certainly middle schools. I've seen them in elementary schools. The age of onset is reduced, statistics show, when a father is absent, as if there's some like biological control that a father has, or biological impact, not control, biological impact that our family structures have on the maturation process of our children, in this case, little girls. Once you start having your period, what else can happen? You can now procreate, right? You can now become pregnant. So why would teen pregnancy be impacted by fatherhood? You can see the correlations. Pretty profound. Abuse and neglect. Little girls need their daddies too. That's what I want you to know. And we know that. And we seek to get fathers back in place so boys and girls have the best chance of maturing and having the resources they need to be healthy adults. Abuse and neglect. When a father's there, 2 times the rate. When a father's absent, 2 times the rate of maltreatment. Twice as likely to happen if dad's not there. Significantly higher rates of sex abuse. Single parent homes, you see the numbers of physical abuse and neglect and emotional neglect. It goes up. Again, we're consummate advocates of moms. Why would that be? Moms are the majority of the time get the primary custody of the child. So it would stand to reason that these neglect and abuse numbers are higher in the single parent home or when moms have custody. In the movies and on television, the portrayal of sexual abuse of children follows a strict formula. It's never the butler, always the father did it. But the weight of the evidence is clear. What magnifies the risk of sexual abuse for children is not the presence of a married father, but his absence. Human trafficking, this is what I was saying earlier. Human trafficking is one of the perpetrators will exploit those women who did not grow up in a home with a father. 70% of exploited women came from absent father homes. Girls with absent fathers report strong need for attention and affection from men, and that's what the father is supposed to do. Father's supposed to be a little girl's first love. Mother's supposed to be a boy's first love. And so we know that male traffickers look for those folks that don't have fathers in their home. Father presence, higher quality father-daughter relationship that adds active presence in the child's life is proven to significantly reduce the child's vulnerability to crime, ill health, poverty, mental health, which are protective factors against trafficking. The greatest insulation a girl has against being exploited is a healthy relationship with her father. Are you going to jump in here, brother? No, man. You jump in.
We're doing a little tag team here. So those are some of the things. We're going to look at a few other things. This one dealing with pre and postnatal health. Of course, the mother's health is significantly better. The baby's health, often getting more prenatal care. There's a lot of reasons for this. But one thing I want to highlight that we don't necessarily have in this slide, but we talk about hormonal changes that are going through the mother. What's really actually interesting is a lot of the more recent research is actually showing there's a significant amount of changes going on in the father as well. Such that, I mean, we know there's a drop in testosterone. We know men who are around the mother while she's pregnant and around the mother while she has that baby. We know that there's an increase in oxytocin higher than other men who do not have babies, a decrease in testosterone. So those are things we know, but actually there's some more recent research that's demonstrating that that a male's brain who is around the mother while she is pregnant will actually start going structural changes in what's called the default mode network, which is actually something that will help the father be more sensitive to a child's cries and to other things like this. So the structure, literally the subcortical structure, is changing in that father why that baby is in the mother's womb and continues to do afterwards. Gray matter increases in multiple areas of the father, which of course, for a mother, she loses some gray matter. Obviously she's got the child, right? And so this all goes to show that the father is smarter, but just kidding. No, the gray. No. So the gray matter is increasing in order to actually make the father in certain areas that relate to empathy and sympathy. And so this is something that is preparing, and the quote we have is that during this period, men experience changes in hormone levels and in their brains that have an impact on their fatherhood role, suggesting that nature prepares men to become fathers, right? And this literally happens. So anyway, other things, mental health, which this is a huge one, especially today in our society, and a father's presence. There's a lot of unique factors for the father's presence affecting the child's mental health. Children are 2 to 4 times more likely to experience mental and emotional and behavioral problems when there's no father in their life, no father figure. And especially high-risk children who are in high-risk situations, it's significantly even higher. We can talk about the mother's health as well. Postpartum depression is decreased when the father is around. Depression in general and stress in general is decreased when the father is around. Suicides, you see this number, that's a big statistic. And so father's presence affects this. On the other side, we see an increase in confidence, emotional health, empathy. Empathy is a big one, and this goes on with physical health as well. Empathy is something that we talk about social emotional intelligence. Empathy is something that children learn. Interestingly enough, in physical health, children actually learn empathy through even through play. Rough and tumble play is something that actually develops empathy. In fact, in zoos, when you have so cheetah is a solitary animal. If you have a young cheetah in a zoo, they will couple it with a dog just so he will play, because that's a part of their healthy development. This is part of animals' healthy development. A lot of you probably know this. Same thing in children. Like developing empathy is literally one of the most significant thing that a child can learn. Of course, rough and tumble play is one of the ways in which this actually happens. In fact, I've got this little quote here from a professor. I think he's at Indiana. Joseph Pleck says, "Attempts to understand the active ingredient in father's play that promotes pure competence have revealed that children learn critical lessons about how to recognize and deal with highly charged emotions in the context of playing with their fathers." So fathers, in effect, give children practice in regulating their own emotions and recognizing others' emotional cues, right? So pretty interesting. One other thing I was going to say on this is a really interesting study. We talk about why mental health is also on the decline. There have been some studies lately that show that homes of absent fathers, homes whether it's from death or from separation, divorce, or just absent for incarceration, these children are demonstrating that their cellular function, the telomeres, are actually decreased in size, which this is about longevity of life and other things. And so this is really interesting. I mean, we talk about some of these elements, you say, where there just seems to be an interconnection that goes beyond just how the father treats a child, but there's some deeper interconnection going between these bodies. And of course, physics and other things with quantum entanglement, which we won't go into this, but
He should be the doctor.
There is a lot of research that's just discovering that even the cellular health between different things in spaces and places where we're at right now is just far beyond what we thought it was. But nonetheless, that's demonstrating and bearing out in these studies with the absence of fathers. Academic achievement. This is a huge one. If the father can spend about 30 minutes a week is kind of the idea that we give. It's not a strict one, but if just giving attention to that, it'll actually have a significant effect on that child. So just spending time with the child, talking or working with them on academics. See the children without the father present, 2 times more likely to drop out of school. Actually, there's a previous statistic that in non-intact families, children are actually more likely they're essentially more likely to go to prison than graduate college. So now graduate college, not necessarily attend a class or two, but graduate. So more likely to go to prison than graduate college with absent fathers. But on the other side, you're going to see 43% more likely to get A's, 2 times as likely to enter college or to find stable employment after high school when the father is there. The children who actually do the worst are ones with no father figure present and who do not know the identity of their biological father. These are the children who actually fail at the various highest rates. No father figure, don't even know who their father is. But if America's dads got as involved as America's moms, and we'll cheer the moms on there because moms are phenomenal in this, but if they just got as involved, or maybe not even as involved, but America's children will be studying harder and getting a lot more A's, and that bears out on the evidence, right? So this is just a summary of some of these stats. We actually have some of these flyers with us today. If anyone would like some of these, we've got them in a kind of flyer form, some we pass out. Got some of our brochures as well. Want to conclude one last time with, and I'm invite David back up here to finish out, but we're gonna play this little video, and then we're gonna let David close us out here.
Sit down.
I ain't got time for no lecture.
I said sit down, Lou. You know, Will was doing just fine until you showed up. But now that you're back, you have responsibilities to him.
Look, we're still gonna take the trip.
Oh, bull! Bull! Will is not a coat that you hang in the closet, then pick it up when you're ready to wear it. His life goes on. He's not supposed to be here for you. You're supposed to be here for him.
You get off my back! You think I want this? It just happened! Now, when Will was a baby, I was scared.
Cut the crap, all right? Cut it. Because I've been there. But I didn't run out on my family. I was there every day for them because that's what a man does.
Fine, Philip. You a better man than me. You happy? Now, you gonna tell Will or not?
I'm not gonna do your dirty work for you.
Fine. I'll call him from the road.
Yeah, then why don't you do that?
Yeah, I'll do that. Daddy out! What's up? Will, man, I'm glad you're here. Some business came up I gotta handle. So we're gonna have to put our trip on hold. You understand?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Just for a couple of weeks.
I understand.
Yeah, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, whatever.
Look, I'll call you next week and we'll iron out the details. Okay?
Yeah.
It was great seeing you, son.
You too, Lou.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Will.
You know what? Actually, this works out better for me. You know, the Slimmies of summer come to class wearing next to nothing. You know what I'm
Will,
saying?
it's all right to be angry.
Hey, why should I be mad? I'm saying at least he said goodbye this time. I just wish I hadn't wasted my money buying this stupid present.
I'm sorry. If there was something that I
Hey,
could
you know
do-
what? You ain't got to do nothing, Uncle Phil. Hey, ain't like I'm still 5 years old, you know? Ain't like I'm gonna be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, you know? Who needs him? Hey, he wasn't there to teach me how to shoot my first basket, but I learned, didn't I? Hey, I got pretty damn good at it too, didn't I,
Yeah,
Uncle Phil?
you did.
Got through my first day without him, right? I learned how to drive, I learned how to shave, I learned how to fight without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him! I ain't need him then and I don't need him now.
Will.
Nah, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm gonna have me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was. And I sure as hell don't need him for that, because ain't a damn thing he could ever teach me about how to love my kids. How come he don't want me, man?
React to that. What would be y'all's thoughts, reactions to that?
Well, I'm glad you're talking about the role of the father-like figure who can step in. You know, I'm in a situation where, my daughter, her husband, was there for the birth of the first one, stayed around for about a year and a half. When the second one came, he committed suicide. I moved her and her kids into my house. And so I, as grandfather, had to step in and be that role. I had to do that. My grandson is 19, in college, and that last scene, I do it with him every time he leaves, he goes to college. I give him a warm hug, tell him I'm proud of him, and tell him that I want him to do the best he can and make smart choices. Every time he walks out the door, I do that for him, just to make sure that he's got a good role, because I've tried to be there with him for scouting, for school, for sports, for everything. So the role of the stand-in is just as important as the role of the father if you don't have a father around.
For that, brother, for filling those gaps. There are plenty and they're deep and they're wide, and we need folks like you. I also wanted to applaud you because I appreciate a man that does not change the volume of his voice even though he has a mic. I'm the same guy.
I'm sorry, I was in broadcasting. I know how to do
They
that.
tell me all the time, you got a mic now, baby, you don't have to keep me up.
I just wanted to make sure that now is the time for questions because I do have a few.
Explain The rest of the stuff is really about us, which is. Rest of the stuff is about us, so please, let's begin. Let's begin with questions and interface, and we'll, if we need to get to the other, we will.
All right. So I guess the first question I should ask is, have you considered, or is there talks of partnering with organizations such as Big Brother, Big Sister, or like the YMCA, or even the Friskies, on a statewide level movement of some sort to address the stigma of the parental role in a family unit? Has there been talks for that, or is that something in the works, or where is that at?
Yeah, let me move forward. What does that stand for?
Where's the father?
You've you don't have a terrible mind like me. That's what that stands for. The reason I move forward at this point, who we are, sis, is we're nothing if not collaborators in collective impact. We're not as much a direct service delivery model as we are a convener and a facilitator of processes, advocacy, and building infrastructure to do this, to propagate fatherhood and to plant fatherhood in various sectors with community partners. That's our methodology. That's what we do. So when we say, where's the father, we want everyone asking, where's the father, including but not limited to the folks that you listed, do we partner with? We will partner with anyone. In fact, if we don't partner, we don't exist.
Okay, and this next question is referring to the clip, and it's to address two different, I want to say obvious, discrepancies. So, for like, of course, Judge Philip Banks, he has the wealth side, so he's able to spend more to address the needs of his kids plus Will. The dad, however, just going off of the series, if anyone is familiar, didn't have that same upbringing to have that amount of wealth to address his kids. So with addressing the wealth portion of it, going back to stigma talk now, it's typical in a family unit that the maternal role is to stay home, tend to the kids while the father goes out to work. Is there going to be talks of how that can affect the family unit, as well as using those same organizations to address the mental health aspect? Because we don't know the way back when. I mean, if you watch the series, you probably saw one or two episodes of Lou talking about his upbringing, right? So Lou had to work essentially, and that mentality is what set the pace for why Will ended up with Philip Banks, right?
Yep.
So are we going to address the mental health aspect of Lou not being present because of work initially? It may have turned into something else, but the whole reason of that was because you still have to eat. So I guess the question I want to ask is, in the majority of the state, there's only a handful of those, wealthy enough to where both parents can stay home and address the needs of their children. What are those organizations, or if there's any talks of those organizations addressing those families, those students, those kids? I know the Frisk are already doing as much work as they can, but for this father specific role, is there any work being done to target that demographic or audience?
Yeah. I got one question for you. Where did Will originally come from? West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Yes.
Where did he spend most of his days? On the playground is where he spent most of his days. You're just such a connoisseur of Fresh Prince.
Well, I grew up with it, so.
So let me answer that question. Wonderful question. What you're talking about, are we doing comprehensive family services?
Yes.
Are we addressing all of that individual's barriers, or are we simply sort of shaming and blaming that individual that has those challenges? We would say in abuse and neglect that nobody wakes up wanting to harm their children. We believe the same of fathers. So I will come through the context of fatherhood. So one of the things that we have, that's our Stefan, to go back to that. let me answer it in trying to delineate some of our services. I mentioned policy and advocacy. There's policies, procedures, and approaches that have been made that are counterintuitive to positive family formation because they had not really considered the father as they were made. That's our policy and advocacy. I'm going to pause here on KY Dad and answer your question in context of that. KY Dad Academy is a 6-week, 10-session training intensive or fellowship that we do with fathers directly. Guess what some of the subject matter, and it's personal and professional development. It's not talcum powder and changing diapers. It's trying to increase and buttress this man and enhance his life so that he can be a better father and an ambassador and civically engaged citizen. And so what are the things we address? We talk about communication and co-parenting. But another primary issue is economic stability, because we know if he can't sustain himself, he can scarcely sustain his family, his children. We also have what? Mental and physical health, because we know that a stigma, particularly within men, particularly within Black men in this case, or particularly within rural areas where men are, our Eastern Kentucky regions, you don't get mental health care. You just, oh yeah, he's a little crazy. Yeah. You know, but you have to speak to that. So we fully are aware that you need to speak to the whole person if you want them to be something that's viable for their family and their children. And we do propagate that same sort of approach with our partners. If you're in our space, we, as he started off, self-induced issues. People don't like, this is a man, he had the child. He can't feed him, he shouldn't breed him. You know, that's some people's mentality. Just go do it. You had him, take care of him. Well, men have the same barriers that mom and dad or moms have. And if a mom has a barrier, what do we do? Well, she's got substance use. She needs treatment. She's got mental health disorders. She needs help. She's got issues with finances. She needs that help. It's the same for the father. So we seek to build comprehensive programming and approaches for fathers and other, just as we do other caretakers. So I hope that answered your question in part. You had a pretty robust question.
Well, because I see
Sure.
I see
It's
the
legitimate.
potential in this. Is just I want to know how it's being implemented and applied, because how would, let's say, a father in Lou's situation seek services? How does that happen? What would be the process for that to show? Because I mean, for mental health services, you already have to jump through so many hoops just to get, qualified for barely any kind of service.
It'd be tough for
So-
Lou to find those, probably, sis, to be honest with you. Kentucky, we're excited and proud because we're actually among the leaders in this body of work in the nation. Thanks to folks like Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, who was part of our origin story, who helped launch us, and the Lexington Leadership Foundation, who had a fatherhood initiative years ago. These are all people that in Kentucky were part of a coalition, the cabinet, way back to several administrations ago, have been adopting this to the point that we now have in our CHFS standard operation procedures, fatherhood is mentioned, and explicitly CCFF and PCAC are mentioned in there as agencies that are helping build a more robust and a more effective father-centric service delivery system for the sake of children.
Okay.
For the sake of children.
And then
One more question. I'm gonna take your mic.
sorry, this is my last one, I promise. This is my last one. It's pertaining to policy and advocacy. So is there talk in place regarding paid parental leave for the family unit? Again, this is going back to the stigma that, almost everyone is aware of. Mom stays home, dad goes to work. So how is that being approached or addressed in this growing age and addressing this specific need?
So our policy and advocacy to this point have been assisting others that are bringing forth efforts. To be honest with you, that's one of the growth and maturation opportunities for us. But that paternal leave issue has come up in Kentucky. There are some individual organizations that are taking it upon themselves to go ahead and institute some things. I am not aware of anything at the state legislative level, but again, that's not my strength. And our primary effort in this season, we've been incorporated for 5 years, been doing the work for 5 years next October. We've been doing the work longer. And so that's a more advanced piece. So like now we are helping people like KYA, we're helping people like family preservation. We're signing on with them on the things they're doing. We're signing on with people that are looking at right sizing child support and things of that nature, but we haven't initiated that specific effort.
I've got the question is hopefully quick. Do you have any policies or advocacy things going on in the court systems? Because there's a lot of fathers that feel like they've been abandoned by the court system and actually been adversarial. The court system has been adversarial to them.
Yeah, you're talking about family court, custody, things of that nature. Yeah. So that's going to be more individual. As I mentioned, we're not the direct service delivery organization, but we help build capacity in direct service delivery organizations. One of our methodologies that we seek to replicate are partnerships with family court, getting relations with those family court judges, having responsible fatherhood courses and curricula that family court judges can refer dads to and agencies can work with so that they could be better options or or more viable options for custody. Because we do know, what research says, that courts are maternally biased, period. Moms are more likely to, by default, get custody of children, even if mom has some pathologies going on herself that dad doesn't have going on. In a lot of places, it's like, well, of course, baby goes with mama. Baby goes with mama and her family, leaving the paternal side out. Again, we don't want mamas to get any lesser treatment. We just want fathers to get equal treatment. And so we work with individual courts. Family courts is a primary place in our methods that we seek to replicate. And we do have some models in which fathers are being deferred from, incarceration to do fatherhood with drug court and veterans courts. And we have family court judges that are working with some of the programs. I know in Fayette County and in Jefferson County and out in some of the other counties to work with fatherhood agencies or agencies serving fathers to help increase the likelihood of fathers getting a more fair shake in those courts. Great question. And now we did in Kentucky just last year, or 2 years ago now, I think, presumptive custody, which previously, again, that default to the mother was very high, but presumptive custody says that by default, both parents are 50-50 and get equal rights at birth by default, unless there is some factor in mother or father that would mitigate that.
Thank you. Can you speak to any of the mini grants that you award and the work that's going on there?
Yes, I will. I will actually yield to our director of our programs manager, I should say, Chris Banner, who's here to talk about some of the mini grants that we have going and the sort of things we look for in those. Please, sir. He's like one of those people that come, oh, me? Oh, just me?
Dr. Banner. Kidding, I'm not a doctor. So our mini grant program is one of the ways that we seek to partner with other agencies, like everyone in this room. We offer 2 tiers of grants. We have a $5,000 grant. We have a $10,000 grant. What we're looking to do is see what's inside of you. We don't want to come to you and say, here's what you should do. We want to ask you what's in your heart, what's in your program, what's in your thoughts for fatherhood. How can we come alongside and support and resource something that maybe is already happening? We'll build some capacity, or something new that you want to initiate that we can bring resource to the table, both with our expertise, our experience, and of course, financially, because these things don't get off the ground without funding, and we can bring some of that to the table. So here's what it looks like. We have an application process that's going to start in, help me out with the date, February 2nd. All right, February 2nd, we're going to open applications. We're going to have about a 1-month window where applications will be accepted. We'll have a couple Zoom sessions as well we can get you onto. We can do Q&As. We can kind of help you with that process. And then we're going to take all those applications. We'll go through some reviewers, some unbiased reviewers who will look at all those grants, and then we'll determine who will get the grants for 2026. And then you'll have the calendar year to accomplish that work. If that's interesting to you, we brought some brochures. We'd love you to take those home, or you can go to our website. There they are. Mr. Touré's got our brochures. Or you can go to our website and get on our email list. Just subscribe to that. We'll send out blasts for when the application's open. And we'd love to see all of you, if interested, signing up to be part of that process. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, like some examples. Sure. Feel free to jump in, guys. So we've worked with Frisks before, where they do stuff in schools. They got donuts with dads in the morning. Sometimes it's a one-off event. They're implementing curriculum, 24/7 dad or all pro dads. They're bringing in fathers, bringing in kids, just to get that real positive father and child time together before school, after school. Sometimes there's Father's Day events that they're kicking off, bringing in fathers and their kids or the entire family. We've had fishing events. We've had other programs sort of geared towards recovery. They're bringing in guys in the recovery space, providing some specific programming for them or some education, some resources. A recent one we're doing out of Louisville, we're actually establishing a regular rhythm of convening for men who are in the recovery space, who are being coming out of incarceration, and giving them a hub to return to again and again to establish community, to find resources, to get connected with other agencies in the area that are serving men in that space. That's a sort of a unique program that's getting off the ground that we're coming to with what's actually called an RMS support, but it's very similar to the mini grants. You guys want to add any others in there?
Yeah, just a great summation. One of our rock stars currently is a Frisky.
Yeah. That'd be
we
Brandy.
love what he's doing and getting fathers.
Damon,
I would only augment, we don't necessarily want one hitter quitter events, but that 5,000 and below is for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even on those one-off events, we want some sort of resources, education, awareness raising going on. Obviously, we're not giving folks grants about $5,000 worth of donuts, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We want something that's gonna stick besides the calories. We want some awareness. We want some programming going on. $10,000 grants are ongoing, which has got to involve some sort of battery of services or curricula, preferably all in trauma-informed approaches, all in asset-based approaches, all of which we ask that our mini grantee partner with people, particularly DCBS, CHFS, family court, drug courts. We're trying to build these dyads or these pods of partnerships that are getting the fatherhood bug, and that's what these dollars are meant to initiate or enhance something already going on. And we believe that between KY dads being in regions, many grantees being in regions, we get this momentum going, and we can get some fatherhood sustained full service program delivery. And it has to be nonprofit. We love faith-based organizations. That is one of the most underutilized, most prominent armies across the state of Kentucky that we don't use well. And so we encourage faith-based organizations to apply or for agencies to partner with faith-based organizations. Yes, sir.
We have a question from a virtual audience.
Turn this one on. Here, this one works good.
I have an answer.
Okay, is that better?
You're getting feedback from
Yeah. And I hear it here too, in these things, my plugs. Anyway, we have a question from Anna. And she asked, will it be possible to have a copy of the presentation of the Father Safe Children presentation versus the PowerPoint slides themselves? And I replied, yes, we'll have these segments on the KSBN website.
Great. Any others? You didn't have a question, Crybaby, or you just trying to make me cry too?
Well, very difficult. My husband and I were never able to have children. So, I do have a question though.
I'm curious, are there any statistics related to safe driving in regard to having a father present? And if not, could that be a study that's done? Because my inclination says you're going to have safer drivers if a father is present.
Great question. To your first point, though, you still have a role in with children. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. I just felt your heart coming out when that was on, so I appreciate it. I was wondering, and when I was looking at the agenda, I was like, I mean, if I took a poll in here, most people say, who taught you how to drive and who got on you when you weren't driving right? Most of the time, right, it was dad, right? Who gave you a key or didn't give you a key? It was dad. I have not necessarily seen that, brother and sis. I haven't necessarily seen that.
There is actually a specific unique statistic of the father talking to the children about drinking and driving that actually significantly affects, and the study is unique to the father's effect on that for some reason. But this was just like 1 or 2 studies, so it wasn't, a meta-analysis, but.
Yeah. So prior to being the director of operations, Karen was our training, research, and resources coordinator. And he's just a general geek, so he knows all that stuff, so.
I don't have a study, but I will say as a father with several boys, I knew what the boys were going to do because I did those things myself.
To use our life experience and our anecdote around these, you know what I'm saying? Like, my daughter's protected because whoever was gonna see her saw me first. That's anecdotal, but it speaks to protection from abuse, right?
Yeah.
My sons are gonna hopefully make better decisions because I'm gonna be on them and I know what they're up to. By the way they're dressed, by the way they smell, by the way they walk, by the way they come see me or don't come see me. You just, dads and they know that stuff. My granddaughter is going to be less susceptible to abuse because when she goes to her non-custodial father's house, if there's a mark on her that somebody else did in household with mom, he's going to ask what's up, right? Just more eyes on. So that's, though it may sound qualitative or anecdotal, those are so same to the driving piece. So yeah. We're at time, House, but I want to make sure. So, yeah, that was it. Those are our services. I do want to make sure and appreciate and recognize again, you met Aaron, Director of Operations. You got a chance to hear from Chris, our program manager. This is Ronnie Williams Jr. He's our communications and outreach guy. And this is Teray Wilson, who just came on most recently as our training and resources coordinator. And he's the one that if you wanted any, combination of us or sharing information in your spaces or agencies you would come to. I want to recall that exercise that I did in the beginning. I asked you to look for a color. That's what you look for. We look for what we're instructed to look for. We don't see what we're not accustomed to or what we're not instructed to or what we have not learned to look for. I challenge you to ask yourself that WTF. Where's the father? When you're strategic planning for 26, you're all doing it right now. If you looked at what you started now, what did you say? Hey, increase father engagement. You didn't have it in there. Majority of you don't. I hope you do next week. When you're doing your outlook planning, when you're doing your staffing, when you're building your staff, look for someone that can bring that to the table. If you look for it, you'll find it. I'm going to ask this is unscripted. Teray, our most recently, our lowest tenured or most recently hired person. Do you look at fathers and see things in the community or on TV around fatherhood differently than you did before you started working here?
On TV and media?
Anywhere. Do you notice any additional fatherhood elements?
Personally, honestly, not really.
Oh, great. You really helped me out in that. That's what we're here. I was gonna say, but the other part is he's not that new. He's a KY dad alone, which is really, really cool. He's been in the fatherhood space before. Generally, like since, when people step into this space, they're like, man, since I've been working here, since I've done this program, or since I saw your presentation, like if I see a mom pushing a baby in Walmart, I say, cute baby, where's dad? I'm automatic. I'm watching one of y'all's, my wife's saucy little Hallmark Christmas movies that it's the season for, right? If I see the girl that gets the guy and loses the guy, and then the guy chases her to the airport, and they all end the same. I'm like, okay, I wonder if she had a father in her life. It just happened. So just look for that. That's the point. Contrary to no help from my colleagues. Hey, fix it now. I make you look like that. No, fix it. Go ahead. Yeah.
We have one last question from virtual audience. And that is, are there any specific requirements for faith-based organizations to be eligible?
So the ones that likely won, we are state funded primarily. You can't proselytize. That's not the idea of this. The idea is using that faith-based network that is very robust, particularly in this state, to be able to do the work. But a faith-based organization qualifies it, as nonprofit. So they can, churches or faith-based organizations are qualified for the mini grants, but it's not to proselytize, it's to provide programming.
No other questions? Well, I think it's about lunchtime. Thank you so much.